Hi, everyone from the Mums and Dads, Renovators and Decorators group. This is a continuation of our theme this month, which is all about doing stuff ourselves, but also helping our young people to see what lay ahead and helping them to map out a bit of a plan. What I find is that a lot of youngsters don't think ahead. They don't like to think ahead. It's not always pleasant to think ahead. There's a seriousness in thinking ahead. And so if they can put it off, they will. And so what that does is leave things year after year after year. And then we end up either feeling obliged to help them, or we mightn't even be in a position to help them ourselves. I'll just start by telling you a little bit of a story, two stories actually, real life scenarios. I speak to people all of the time on the phone. They're interested in getting started in the renovation space, right? Or probably more accurately, they're a little bit worried about their own retirement, having not done a lot for quite a lot of years. And it doesn't take long from 1 year to end up 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and then all of a sudden, pow, we're in our 40s or our 50s and we're facing retirement. So if there's anything you can do to encourage your youngsters, definitely do that. But firstly, I had a 63-year-old lady telling me that her and her husband were really keen on retiring really shortly. They wanted to retire like at Christmas time. So this was only a couple of months ago. So I said, okay, where are you at? What is your current position? They had a house valued at around about $300,000. They owed $100,000 on the house. They had a Winnebago in the driveway that was valued at a few $100,000, 400 and something thousand. I think they paid for it at the time, and it was valued at less because it's now a little bit 10 years tired, even though vehicles that are moving people around Australia at the moment are doing better than they have. It's still very 10 years tired, and they'd done quite a lot of kilometres in it. They'd had some fun in their van. But the truth is, to retire just after Christmas is not an option. It's not an option for that couple. Another lady sold her house to go travelling for years, came back with her van and a really nice truck and 2 bikes attached to the back. They had nowhere to live, and they couldn't afford to rebuy because obviously properties moved a lot in the last few years. So they've parked their caravan out on the block of their daughter's place, and she lives in a really nice rural property near Berry down the south coast of Sydney. However, it's not a forever home. It's not like, she was wondering what she could do. And this kind of stuff freaks me out a little bit. So, in the end, we should be having a plan. We should all have a plan, and we need to work out exactly what we need to retire. We need to be thinking of it in advance. So disclaimer, guys, this video is all about inspiration. It's not information. So I'm not a financial planner. I want you to seek your own independent advice. I don't know you and your personal circumstances, so I just thought I'd lay that out in the first place. But let's look at how much you actually need and what you should be doing. The most important thing is to look at your current position, look forward to what you want to retire on, and then work back to the current position and find out what you need to accumulate to get from where you are right now to that point of retirement. When I speak to people, they never ever say to me, I really want to retire at 75. That's not what they say. They say, I'd like to retire in my 50s or my 60s. So I'm like, okay, where are you? Where are you at? And I can't see that happening. And if you haven't accumulated quite significant funds, either in property or otherwise, then you don't have anything to downsize from. Like, you don't have anything to fiddle around with, to restructure, to get to the point where you can actually take time off work. You are still trapped in a job, which back in the day used to be secure, but under the current circumstances, I don't think anything is very secure. So to retire on, here are the figures, guys, to retire on $100,000 per year. And again, when I ask people how much money they'd like to retire on, they'll say 100,000. That's just the number that comes up first. Many say 200,000. So let's layer it back. To retire on $100,000 per year, you need around about $2 million in clear equity invested at 5% to give you those returns. So, some people have that. And some people, most people do not. And most people don't know how to get to that. And unless you're insignificant, you're sitting in a property that's valued, into the multi-millions, where you can downsize and you can come up with something like that that is invested in at 5%. There's different ways of investing to get those returns. Like you don't have a lot of wriggle room. If you look at CanStar Research under their superannuation sliding calculator, it's really a good look, guys. Go and have a look there. If you're relying on superannuation and not property or shares or something external, if you rely on superannuation to retire with an annual income of $100,000 at 50 years old, which is what everyone tells me, you'll need $1,747,180 in superannuation to fund your lifestyle. Like, that's a big amount, $1,747,000. So to retire at $100,000 per year at 50 years of age, you need to accumulate that much in your superannuation fund. To retire at 60, you'll need a little bit less, $1,486,000, because they're calculating that you're going to live till at least 85. So it's really interesting, guys. Jump on that sliding calculator on canstar.com.au and start to work backwards. Like, what age do you want to retire? What age are you now? How much do you have to accumulate between now and then to get there? And it can be quite confronting. To retire on $50,000 per year, you'll need $1 million invested at 5%. All right, so superannuation. You can also go to your super guru, superguru.com.au calculators, the super detective right there. I heard Effie, our host, talking about that this morning on the Today Show, and I thought, you beauty, Effie, that's great. That's good timing. I'll throw that in my slides. So here we are. So if you're born in 1990 and you want to retire and you're trying to accumulate superannuation, it lets you know how much you should have today accumulated. So if you're born in 1990, which means you are, what does that mean? Almost around 30, then you'll need at least 61,000 in your super already to be on track. So that's really cool. You can jump onto that calculator. You can pop in the amount that you have when you're born, when you'd like to retire, and see if you're on track or not to actually reach that superannuation amount that we talked about in the slide before. So there's superannuation that are managed funds, right? Your average everyday super that your boss or your workplace pops into a super fund on your behalf. And then there's self-managed super funds, which are my favorite. Obviously, I'm a property person, so I love the way that we can borrow and invest property in a self-managed super fund. If you're not doing it, or you haven't considered it, or you don't know anything about it, reach out to me and I'll put you onto a fabulous financial planner and financial advisor who can give you the right advice on that. But if you've got money sitting in super and it's sitting idle and you don't think it's performing very well for you, if it's going great guns, that's great. But if you think that you can do better, absolutely explore the option of a self-managed super fund. They're fantastic. A lot of my property guys do very, very well investing in real estate in their superannuation fund. All right, so we've got limited resources to get this together. And the limited resources that we have, time and money. So time is your most valuable asset. Like, it is so limited. We've got 24 hours in a day. We're awake for a certain amount of those hours. We can't make more time. Like, we can make our money work for us, but we can't make more time. We can't, you just can't. But what you do with your time really matters. But it is our limited resource. When we're talking about retirement, we're talking about doing wonderful things with our time. So it's precious. Time is precious. If anybody has ever faced an illness, particularly cancer, or something where their mortality is like thrown in their face, then the most important asset to them is time. They just are buying time if they're on a healing regime. Money. Okay, so the quickest way to accumulate your money resources is to save it. That's the easiest way. It's a great place to start. It's very tangible. There's lots of things we can do to pull our heads in when it comes to spending money, watching it, wasting money, saving money. That's easy stuff to do. It's really the first thing we should visit is go, okay, how can we save a little bit more? Is there just money leaking like a sieve out of our weekly budget? But then once you've saved it, you need to make it do some stuff for you, or you need to make it with your income and look at your income streams and how you're making money. Again, how you make money is probably based on how much time you're spending at your one day job. Imagine if you could have a few more income streams rather than just that one day job. Then you've got your money working for you just that little bit more. Or a business that's doing significantly well, or a business where you don't need to be in 40, 50, 60 hours a week. So thanks for some thumbs up, guys. So yeah, I agree. Like it is all about getting your money to perform for you. You've got limited time. You've got money. Get your money working for you. Grow it and invest it for later. So you can do that with savings, superannuation, and property. Property is my favorite personal choice. The most important thing is to understand that your profits compound. So if you look at that diagram there, if you're looking at saving money, you've got that amount to start with, and then adding interest and adding a few more savings becomes that. And then say if that grows at 5% per year, it becomes that. So it's all about adding to and compounding, and your profits compound on top of what you originally started with, and you grow it that way. And the same with housing, But honestly, guys, start doing the maths today. Jump on those calculators, have a bit of a deep dive. If your kids are around and they're in their 20s and 30s and they think that they've got all the time in the world and that they're going to live forever, perhaps have a conversation about that as well and talk about how you're going to get there quicker. I love this statement. Where you are now is a direct result of what you have done or not done. Where you are right now in your financial position is a direct result of what you have done or you have not done. So, it's the moment of reckoning, guys. What all these lockdowns have done to people actually has made them realize how much money they were spending on restaurant meals, clothes, and we can still buy clothes, travel, in particular travel. There's a lot of people in my group now who are investing significantly more in the real estate market because they've got some spare cash because they're not going overseas every year. So I know that we love to have some fun, but at the same time, where has your money gone? Do we really need brand labeled perfumes and bags? Do we really need as many clothes in our wardrobes as we have? Do we really need the fancy watches? Do we need a new car? I think the time to buy a new car personally is when your accountant says to you, man, you're going to pay a lot of tax this year. You're either going to pay the tax department or go and buy a car. So that's when you go buy one. Other than that, there are means of transport. And I think I said earlier on this month that the dopamine fix from buying something new, like a new car, lasts, according to research, about 18 months. Once that's over, then you don't feel as excited about being in your new car. It loses its new car smell. You get very used to it. The brand new model comes out, so you're not feeling so special anymore because you're in the 2020 model and the 2021 model's just been released. All of that kind of stuff. So understand that the fix from some of these items is very, very short term. The fix from being able to retire on 100,000 or 200,000 per year, so you can do this kind of stuff all through your retirement, it is a way better option. So yes, success leaves clues. Observe and follow what successful people have done. People around you, people that you admire, people you see on the news. Have a bit of a look and see what they've done and just follow what they've done. You can be sure that they've had their money working for them, they've had their time, they've used their time wisely, they've filled their mind, and this is what I'd like you to do as well, fill your mind and your kids' minds with the good stuff. If you look behind me, I've got a whole row of books there. Some are mine and some are my kids in their 20s, and one's just turned 30. Read this stuff. It's all about growing wealth. It's about property. It's about marketing. A couple of them are in the marketing space. It's about, they will read biographies, autobiographies on people like Tony Robbins and Richard Branson. I mean, one day I should do a little video just on the books in that bookshelf. But, you know, fill your mind with good stuff. You can listen to rubbish all day long. Netflix is gorgeous. I love a good hour of binge watching rubbish on Netflix. It's great fun. But you know what? Don't fill your mind with it day after day after day. Sometimes that is a way of escapism, of just forgetting about what we really need to be doing, of procrastinating. And, you know, just jump in. There are communities everywhere, my community, but there are also communities in marketing. There are communities in Bitcoin, in shares, investing, and like there are just communities everywhere on Facebook in particular that can support you if you wanted to really do a deep dive into one of these things to grow your wealth. And the truth is you are in charge, no one else. I hear people all the time on the phone saying, yes, I reached 60 and yes, you know, blah, 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 but this happened to me and that happened to me. And, you know, mum got sick for 5 years and this happened. Like, I know that stuff happens in our lives, but in the end, you're in charge. I'm in charge of mine. You're in charge of yours. The other thing to remember is mentors have mentors. Tony Robbins has a mentor. My business coach has a mentor. I have a mentor. I mentor people. Like it's bizarre, but the truth is people who take action, who like to be held accountable so that they move through processes so that they get results, they have mentors. They have mentors. I don't know too many people who just sit there in a world of their own, who don't reach out to people, who don't try and grow and learn and just, you know, do their own thing and evolve very, very quickly. If you want to evolve fast, you'll lean on the shoulders of somebody else who's done it before you, who knows what they're doing, who can help you when you're having a bad day, really importantly. So yeah, get a mentor. It's not just about the business, it's about the way we feel. And when it comes to retirement, or it comes to building wealth, you also have to think about how quickly you can get your hands on your money. Like, do you need to do a reshuffle if you've got a lot of property? So if you're thinking about property, for example, you might go through the acquisition phase, which is when you're buying, you're renovating, you're holding it to rent it out for more. And then you might buy another one based off the equity that you've just forced upon that first property, and you've got this newfound equity, so you go and buy a second one, and then you might go and buy a third one, and then you might start to feel a little bit tight, like, oh, okay, now I'm a little bit heavily leveraged, I just don't feel like I have a safety net, and I've been moving a little bit fast. So you might consolidate a little bit and, you know, sell something that's either worked for you fabulously, that's going to free you up to go and do something else, or sell off a dud if it's not working for you and keep the ones that you like. So, but it's time to have a look at your portfolio and work out what you want to hold on to and what's going to enable you to access more opportunities. Also have a buffer available. Oh my goodness, I can't tell you how many people live paycheck to paycheck, and then something happens like, well, like, you know, this pandemic, and people have lost their jobs and they have zero to fall back on. So always have a buffer, at least have a buffer in like a line of credit, at the very least have a buffer in a line of credit that you can access there. You better have a plan B as to how you're going to pay back that line of credit, but have some kind of cash flow available to you, or savings. And how much do I think? I think you need somewhere between 6 months and 12 months of your yearly income. That's what I think you need as a buffer, but that's up to you guys. That's all up to how safe you feel, what kind of level of risk you like to carry. But if you've got a buffer and something happens, you've got a few months to sort some stuff out and make your next right move. You know, I love renovating. The reason I love renovating so much is that in a short period of time, you can leapfrog. You can get your money working for you. You can get your time working for you. If you can do something like this in 3 to 6 weeks, if you can change up a property like this in 3 to 6 weeks, just like Jackie and her parents did, Yes, they rolled up their sleeves. Yes, they got stuck in DIY. They did all the painting and all that kind of stuff themselves. But hey, look at the value before renovation was 320,000, and they spent less than 60K on the renovation. They sold it at 470,000. Their profit was $90,000. So if you look at that amount, $90,000, quite often it will take years for people to save that in their after-tax dollars. So this is when you can start to really leapfrog and make some progress. So that's why I love renovating as part of this strategy. And I just think if you've got adult kids and they have idle time, especially now, especially if they're working from home and they've got a few more hours up their sleeve, or even if they've lost their job or they've had to change their way of thinking and they might need to do something else, getting stuck into a project like this is great for the whole family. All right, guys, follow me in the Mums and Dads Renovators and Decorators group. If you ever want to book an appointment to chat to me, you're quite welcome, even though I'm pretty chockers this week with the training, booking out a lot of appointments. So you might get in for a few days, but certainly try that link, renovateandrealestate.com.au/book a call if you needed to discuss with me exactly where you are and what you might like to do in the next couple of years. Bye, guys. Big love. Cheers.